bay, a maintenance bay, 2 storage bays, and the full office area. And they had given us a ballpark estimate at the time of, let's see, they called it option 4, I believe, was with soft costs and a whole construction cost of roughly 13 million, soft cost, which would be, design fee, the OPM fees, et cetera, was 2.4 million, for a ballpark figure of $15.44 million. I met with the board. We met with the Board of Selectmen that evening, gave them some ballpark estimates on what this had, and we thought that there was a few. The way they had presented this, they took the original 19.6 million, which was option 3, which included everything, and they added soft costs to it. We didn't really argue with them much about it because we just had we were in ballpark numbers anyways. The select board agreed that we should go with option 2, which was a middle one with the 2 storage bays cutting off the back section, and we thought the price would be someplace between roughly 13 to 15 million dollars total costs, ballpark. I talked to Greg and Neil, and I gave them what we were looking for, and they both thought that was a good choice. And I told them we would like revised numbers for today, and a drawing would be okay, but it pretty much, we had a ballpark drawing from the last time, but they give us a new drawing, and I said like a more accurate estimate. And I had been after Greg for the last couple of days to get it so we could have it for today, and he finally got it to me about, I don't know, I want to say 2 or 2:30 in the afternoon. And I'll be honest, this estimate isn't worth the paper it's written on, in my estimation, because it's roughly a 15,000 square foot building. The original building was 23,000 square foot. We cut off roughly 9,000 square feet, and they dropped the price $1.5 million. That 9,000 square feet comes out to $170 a square foot, which is it's insane. Ballpark, I ran a few numbers, and I didn't email everybody because I don't want to make a big deal, but I have been emailing Greg about this. I says, the 23,000 square foot building, based on just construction costs, not soft costs. Soft costs, he's pretty much consistent, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4 million, depending on the size of the project, which makes sense. But anyways, the 23,000 square foot building, construction costs alone, with the salt shed, was $750 a square foot. The 15,000 square foot building comes out to construction costs alone with the salt shed, $1,054 a square foot. $300 more per square foot, almost 50%. It doesn't make sense to me, and I told him that. I said, these are your numbers. So this price that he's given us, this is broken down into all kinds of stuff here. I did print out, everybody got a copy, if I only printed out the details for myself, but everybody got a copy of the email I sent out. It just didn't make sense to waste that much paper for everybody. And because I got the estimate at like 2:30, and I emailed him twice on this stuff, and he hasn't responded to the last email I've given him about the construction costs. I mean, I'm at a loss as to what we should do with this, because the 18 million, he came out with a total price of the reduced building of $18,154,000. Well, like I said, it's $1.5 million less than the 23,000 square foot building.
So over $1,000 a square foot for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, maybe if Randy and Andy give us where you think both your committees are thinking before we beat this up too much.
Sure. So at the select board / finance committee meeting the other night, there's talk of an override, general override for the town, and the thought was to put, that, and that's gonna be, they wanna do that at a special town meeting, not the fall town meeting, something before fall town meeting. So that if the override passes, then they can, we can balance the budget in the fall. But anyhow, the thought was that this building would go on the same override ballot as the general override. So, that being said, that would buy us some time to get all these questions that you have answered.
No,
We're done with
it
questions.
does not.
No?
No, because when we have this, the contract is written, when we have this town meeting, both the contract, we can retain the OPM and we can retain HKA.
Okay.
However, the cost that we was approved is done.
Okay.
So
It's
anything
done for
that we
this spring
do,
town meeting.
anything beyond this town meeting, we have the right under the contracts and even state law, I understand, to retain them. But any work beyond May 1st will be an extra cost.
And they gave us hourly rates.
Hmm?
They gave us hourly rates, what they'd be charging us per whatever the
Right.
title is of the
Right.
person.
Yeah. And, and the thing is, we don't have money beyond this town meeting, even with an hourly rate.
Right.
Right, we
We
don't
don't
have
have
money.
anything to spend, so we
Understood.
can't do anything beyond town meeting to try to get this. I mean, I could pressure Greg to, I said, okay, I could probably get something before town meeting from him. Like, I intend to call him because he's not around, he's someplace, both HKA and CMS said they couldn't make this meeting even with a video call because they both had other appointments to do something else. I said, they said, we could have CMS said they could have Mike Viano sitting in, and Greg said he could have his other guy sitting in, but I'm thinking, really, I didn't think they were going to be bringing anything to the table because I was expecting a different price.
Mm-hmm.
And with this price, all we're going to do is holler at them.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, it's not wasn't going to be productive.
Okay.
But what I could do, depending what we decide today, I could call Greg tomorrow and say, okay, this is what's going on, Greg. What's the story here? Because the numbers just don't add up.
Well, we had talked about this being the least expensive square foot, cost per square foot, part of the project being cut off. It's just floor and a roof for most of it, and you got walls around part of it. So it's just, we knew that going in, that was gonna have the least amount of chop. And, and I don't know how they're playing out with their numbers. They were making it sound better the last time I was here, where they were talking about how the rates were coming in on current projects lower than what had been anticipated. But to answer your question, David, the Finance Committee hasn't taken a vote on the project because it's been moving. I mean, we've had some informal discussion about it, and certainly there are people that realize that this type of project has to be done, and we're looking at a long-term capital investment. The question, obviously, is this would be, some kind of debt exclusion override or some kind of, bond to pay for it. And the bigger issues that the Finance Committee has been facing, what Randy alluded to earlier, is that we're trying to balance 2026. And this is just its own thing. And, so I don't know if you want to talk more about the meeting, the SSTM.
Well, so that's neither here nor there, really. It's that the intent is to have this special town meeting, because we'll call the fall town meeting a special town meeting. So the other town meeting is being labeled special town meeting. But if it's a moot point after, can we push this off until we get straight numbers from these people? Because the warrant's going to be closed after tonight. And so if we don't have numbers to put in there tonight, I can't see how we're going to put it on the warrant.
Well, I don't feel comfortable with this plan, even asking the selectmen to put it on the warrant.
I
Because,
say we go back to the other one.
and,
Take
and
it or leave it.
I've been getting more of the feeling that, just like when we went to Franklin County Bus Garage and tour, the guy that was walking us around said, Greg's a good guy, but he doesn't listen to you. And I've been getting that feeling more and more. So, you know, he's just, I don't know. I don't agree with the whole plot plan here, and I don't agree with the numbers, because I think everything is slam bam, thank you ma'am at this point, because he doesn't see, maybe he doesn't see a continuation, or the project is getting smaller and he's got bigger things somewhere else. I don't know, but that's my personal feeling, and maybe I'm all wrong. But-
Well, we are rolling into the busier time of building, so these guys are
Yeah,
probably starting to hit the ground and things.
But they, you know, we shelled out a big chunk of money for both of these companies, especially Greg, and.
Right, and we
we're-
did, they knew and we knew the date,
Up
the
until-
the
yeah.
cutoff date, and we
Yeah.
threw them a curveball right at the last
Well, and
penny.
to that point, we did, I mean, the town voted to spend the money on presenting a plan. And, you know, you heard me say it before, I'll say it again.
I agree with you now, what you
think
said.
we should be presenting the best choice plan that, you know, the committee would recommend. Not necessarily, you know, the building to a price point, but what we think is the best program for the DPW, both in the near term and the long term. But I think not presenting the plan, just doing this study and shelving it is going to, you know, certainly cut out the credibility of the project and the group for doing exactly that, something that we know there's a sentiment out in town. If you're gonna do this study, give us the numbers. And frankly, I'd rather give them bad news than no news at all. You know, because there's a lot of rumors out there, and you know, I would like to end that speculation and show them, and quite frankly, if they take a look at it and go, oh my God, it costs a lot of money, yeah, it does in the state of Massachusetts, but at least they're getting the real truth, so they don't just sit there and go, oh, why couldn't they build a $5 million Morton building down there, or do something like that. They gotta see what the whole program is, and us not telling them that is really, I don't think.
Well, yeah, right, you're right, our job was to present the best building we could, within reason, not building to a price, not building to what you want, you know, what we need, and I think that we've come up with that. It's, you know, we're running on the timeline now, it runs out. What's their point of the extending it to meeting? They're trying to get better numbers for an override, or they just don't want to do it now, or?
No, they're waiting to see how things play out financially between now and 3 or 4 months after town meeting, see how, you know, what income comes into the town, what revenues, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, I just,
Well, and part of the spin, I thought was that there's already 32 articles? 30 articles on the warrant. And to push this thing on
Please
there,
don't group them.
which is this is a big, you know, probably an hour-long presentation anyway, just stick that in there. Now granted, there are other towns around here who have multiple week town meetings because their warrants are in the 40s or 50s or what have you. But, you know, there was certainly hesitancy to try to jam this all in 3 hours.
Now, regarding the comment of, I believe we could put this article on this town meeting warrant, I'm just for speaking purposes, with a price.
Mhm.
And it could be amended on town meeting floor to the correct price with the tax rate effect and everything else. I've seen that done before.
Yeah, but I think,
We're gonna be close, we're not gonna be off by, you know, 100% or something like that. We're gonna probably say we put the article on there for, I don't know, a ballpark number, $17 million. And that's just to put it onto the board, and then when the actual meeting comes along, we have a much more refined number, and that number is presented by the moderator.
yeah, and there's an issue there, I'm trying to remember my moderator days. If the amendment goes up from what is proposed originally, I think that is a problem.
yeah, I think you can go down, but you can't go
Yeah.
up.
At that
Going
point,
down is okay,
you're
you
building
can't
at
go
a
up.
price point.
Yeah.
Well, it's
So
just that,
even if we put the article on there for 18, just as a holder, and we get Greg, hopefully, to come up with a better price.
a real number?
Yeah, a real number.
Yeah, that's exactly what you asked for 2 weeks ago when we were sitting in this room.
Yeah, and he put it off, but this time, you know, I can't explain.
Well,
I'm not gonna try to defend the.
I mean,
defend the guy, 'cause
we're getting-
we laid it out the
They're
very next
getting,
day.
we're gonna, what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, not even now at this point? And you got, Linda,
weeks from tomorrow.
Linda and everybody else is trying to figure out everything else
Yeah,
to come up with a number. That's getting,
yeah.
you're asking for an awful lot to try to, I think, nail down a fine
For-
point before then.
For the, well, we're at 19,650,000 or something like that, he told you to ask for the original plan.
Yes.
This is a waste, just as stupid to present this, you know? And all you guys know that I was the one mowing and groaning to cut the price, and the reason why is because I don't think it's gonna pass at that, especially if you're talking another override. No, I'm not gonna vote for it, because it's just way too much, you know? But, like you say, present it to the town, what we came up with, and tell them, we went down to this, cut down so many square feet, and they come in with this price. So, let's be honest, let everybody know what we did.
Yep.
Present the big one. I really think it's gonna fail when Rick and I went to the selectmen to be approved for this thing. My thing was, and I said to the select board, I wanna be on the committee because they need something, but I want something that's gonna pass. And I don't feel that we're to there. I think it's a good plan. I also wonder if Greg has 3 variations of his plan, and this is what I present, this one, this one, and this one. Which one do you like? But I don't know. I got a very bad feeling at this point about what we're getting, that's all.
I think we need to present something to the town to let them know what's going on, that, this is what we've done.
I don't disagree with that. I've said from day one that we need to present something because that's what we were tasked to do.
Yeah.
We weren't tasked to spend $225,000 and then decide whether we should vote, present to the people.
Because we think it costs too much.
Right.
Or it might get voted down.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
I have the same attitude on the select board. 5 people can't decide for the town, and we can't decide for the town. We decide what we think is the best thing that we've been presented with, and present that to the town and let them decide, or let us decide, not just this committee. So,
I mean, I've talked to a lot of people, and, they were like, people that were for it. Now the first thing you hear about, what the hell, now you're gonna building that's not even half the size of what you want? So you're losing those people. And when it comes right down to it, you basically had 2 groups. You had the group of people, and I don't know what the percentage is, I just know what you hear. You hear
Yes
blah,
or
blah,
no.
blah, 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 blah. These people, most of these people that are gonna vote for it would vote for it as long as it's a good building. Whether it's gonna win or not, who knows? Then you've got the people that aren't gonna vote for it, whether it was $2 million or $30 million, because they don't want their taxes to go up.
right,
And now you've got this other one, the override going.
yeah.
But I think we came up with the best price that we could for the best building we could. Now, whether it gets presented,
And
that's
which
not
one-
our choice.
And which one is that?
The full.
What, this
The
one, the
original.
full?
The original,
Number
yeah.
three,
Yeah. Was it
not
three?
the
Right.
first
The-
big.
the
big-
real-
Not the, no, the
not
20
first
million, or $22 million, 2,200 square, 22,000.
23,000.
The regular, the
one
last
before
building.
this
is-
one.
voted
Right.
for.
Yeah.
Right.
The more I was looking at that building, when you sent that email, those are very tall ceilings. Do we need tall ceiling? They gotta be 20-foot walls. Can we just put high, he's got windows.
Well, you got the mezzanine up there, so I don't know how much taller it is up above it.
And
Yeah.
what do you need for clearance on the vehicles and the doors?
Well,
Yeah, like if it can go in a door, like,
14 feet.
We need 14-foot
you
doors.
need
Yeah,
14-foot
so,
doors.
so
And then how much above the doors?
And
And
then
then,
you
he's got glass.
You need room for the lifts to pick the
Yeah.
truck up over it.
Yeah, but that's only in the mechanics bay.
Yeah,
But
so
in
if
the
we have-
storage area, what you're saying
you know, we have the mechanic bay that's tall, but like the wash bay doesn't have to be giant.
Yeah, but you know, when you've
The
got
wash
a,
bay still gonna be 14 foot.
Well, minimum, yeah, but he's, you know, looking at these drawings, it looks like they're 20-something feet long. We're gonna have a situation
Well, most of
where-
the buildings that we went to, I mean, it looks like that, but in reality, they're not, I mean, you gotta pick, you know, you wanna go in and pick the loader bucket up or something like that. You
Yeah.
gotta, you know,
Yeah, if-
wash the truck or wash the machine.
and
put
you
it,
go
you know.
into a building that's a 16 foot, but when you bring the trusses down and you
You
bring
know,
the mechanical
they
down,
look at
you're
it.
talking about, you know,
12
12 foot of
minimum,
clearance.
right?
So
There's
you
the-
you need to
there's the
have that
truck.
interior
I
room.
know
built
they're,
up
you
there.
know, but do we need
There's,
the whole building double tall?
truly, in this building, I would be willing to bet 14 foot, 15 foot.
Clear.
Probably have pretty near 18 to 20 foot walls. But between the trusses and and everything else that you're gonna have overhead, that's just required for support to put anything up in there. I mean, it's, you know,
Right.
Looking at the pictures, it looks like it's like 20-something feet on the low, and then it goes up almost 30 feet.
Well, we know that it's pitched,
Yeah,
and so you've got, obviously, you're looking at what is the minimum height for the eave and what's the
yeah,
minimum
you know, is that
pitch.
16 and it
So
can be
you-
dropped down?
You've got to run
I
it.
believe you said it's a, what do you say, it's a 112 pitch or 212?
Maybe, yeah, maybe a 1 or a 2.
212 pitch.
Yeah.
So we can always flat roof
Metal
it,
roof.
put 3
Yeah.
tab shingles on it. Oh, wait, we did that on the
Let's
building.
not do
Metal,
that.
insulated metal roof,
Yeah.
Okay.
insulated metal
Yeah,
panels on the
yeah,
wall.
standing
So,
seam.
I mean, you know, provided that he had minimum clearance,
Yeah.
if it was 16 feet or whatever at the.
But, you know, looking at those drawings, he's
Going
got
up.
windows stacked, you know, 6-foot windows stacked on top of 16-foot doors. You know, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of
Well, that was the
extra.
natural light mostly.
Yeah.
You know, you still gotta put your beams and your trams and
Well, for
everything else
sure,
above what
yeah.
you're
Well, like
running.
the truck storage areas, that need to be on natural light if it's just storage.
The truck storage is in the back. I don't think there's a whole lot of lights in the back.
Looking at the, you know, the picture, he drew a nice building, but do we need it?
You could put in a couple of skylights and
Yeah,
lower it,
yeah.
what else,
I
but
mean, and all, a lot of those things can be ironed out when it
Yeah.
comes to design. So right now, this is
Yeah.
just a schematic conceptual.
Right.
And you can always look at it down, or, you know, we really don't need that, we can do this, we can do that, what does that cost?
Well, that's,
You know,
yeah, 500,000, that's a million, now we're back down to,
Yeah.
The other thing too is if we push this off till our August meeting and say it did pass, by the time you get done, you're not in your prime bidding
Oh, you're a
season.
year.
You're going out to bid next spring, and then you're in that whole series of,
We talked about that at the joint meeting, and because there was discussion about this SSTM special town meeting happening in August. My personal opinion is that, you know, it should happen, I don't know why it can't happen in June before the kids break. I mean, granted, it's 5 or 6 weeks after annual town meeting, but if we know
It's a
there's,
special bid.
you know, this part is together, and if you get the, if the other part of that meeting is the override article, I mean, there's not a lot of, it's just waiting to see what happens. My point is, why can't you, at least if you got it in June, you'd stand a chance of getting something together before the, you know, before the snow flies, starting to move at least.
from the selectmen's point of view, is there the regular override more important than, say, this being over for another override?
I don't know what everybody's personal opinion is, David. I mean, obviously, keeping the town running is going to be more important than building a DPW building. And I think that the other members believe that this is a necessity, but like most of us, the thought of whether it's going to pass or not is the issue. But I think what we need to do today is decide what we want to suggest to the select board this evening that gets put on the warrant, and whether the board agrees to do it for annual town meeting or not remains to be seen. If the vote is not to put it on the annual town meeting warrant, and it goes to this special town meeting, what are we losing besides the ability to not get any more information out of our consultants at this point in time?
Maybe
prime
price,
bidding.
pricing and
Pricing.
bidding.
Possibly risk,
Possible.
Possibly.
but
they will also be presenting.
Some general comments here, that I would guess the risk of putting it off a few months from a price point of view is probably low from what we've been hearing. Normally, the idea is to go out to bid in January, February, or late in the year. That's what we've been told by different architects, because the contractors are hungry and they want to line up their work for the following calendar year, if you would, during the building season, construction season. Boxborough just went out, they opened their bids in April, well into because people are building in April. And they got beautiful bids because the contractors are hungry. It's more of the climate than I think anything else. From what the architects have said and what I hear, what I talk to very few contractors, is there's very few ads going into the Central Register for big construction projects. So when there is something going to the Central Register, they're getting a lot of interest. Not just let's say you got a $20 million project. You know, the super big guys, we don't deal with 20 million. We deal with, 50, 60 million and above. The $20 million project, because there's not so much out there, they're getting the big guys to bid because they're hungry. They want to get their crews working. Even if they don't make much money on it, they want to keep their crews going. So right now, we're in a climate where it's very unpredictable, and probably losing a few months on going out to construction or bidding may not be a big deal. I mean, Rick, what do you think? Have you seen? I mean, you're more the smaller scale,
Yeah.
but I don't mean to put you on a spot.
No, the smaller jobs are drying up a little bit more, and they're a little bit bigger jobs, but it's
Okay.
definitely slowed down some.
Okay.
But we're in a unique area for what I
Right.
specialize in.
Yeah.
It will always be.
The other
Yeah.
thing, Randy, is, whatever we decide at town meeting, whether it goes on or not and it passes, there still has to be an override vote.
Right.
Is there, and now they're talking the other override, is it possible to go ahead and put this on the town meeting for the full price, this town meeting? You vote for it, and then they can tie the actual ballot vote in with after they do the other vote? I mean, is there a timeline that you can't? I know you have to do it, you have to wait so many, I don't know if there's a timeline on,
45 days?
you have to do it within 45 days, is
I'm
that?
not certain. I know I heard that number.
We did hear that.
I know there's a cutoff, but I can't remember if it's,
Yeah.
you have to
So
wait or you have to do it by.
That's beyond me.
Yeah, what I think we need to do is make our decision, what we will recommend to the select board. We are sitting here speculating about
Right.
everything and anything that we know we have no control over. So let's just take the time to decide, do we want to go with this $18 million number we got, that version, or do we go with the original one, the 19 or whatever $million one that is?
The
Is it 19 or is it 22?
It was 19.65,
19.65 was the number Greg says we should go with.
and now it's soft costs and everything.
That's everything.
So why would we build it,
For-
two-thirds of the
have no
building
say.
for,
$1 million less.
yeah,
Yeah.
it just,
The other concern, of course, is that we don't have the consultant to help present. And I think, to me, it's still valuable to have.
After this town meeting.
After this town meeting.
this town
but he
meeting.
will at town meeting.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
town meeting.
just like
At town
walk
meeting.
out and done.
Both of them.
Right, they will both be at this.
We
town
would
meeting.
lose them if we wait too long, if we wait past this
If
town
you go to
meeting.
special town meeting, you lose them.
Right.
Well, you don't lose them, you just have to.
Pay them,
Pay
and we have the
them.
money.
And then we can pay by the hour.
We
so-
don't
lose
we don't-
them.
we
We
don't
lose them because we don't have the money.
Yeah.
So,
So,
okay, I agree. Anybody want to make a motion on what project to go forward with?
what do we, give me whatever option,
According to the latest figures we have, and I'm just going to go by the numbers we have as opposed to try to guess better, 19.65 for the 23,000 square foot full boat building, or 18, call it 18.2 million for the 15,000 reduced square foot building.
Which is,
I think also full boat is just, that is not representative, you know, like, full boat was the first one. It
Yeah,
had everything in it.
whatever.
That was the
So,
second.
so I'm gonna make a motion to recommend to the select board the 23,000 square foot building that we were told was going to be $19.65 million.
I'll
Second.
second that.
Motion and second. Open for discussion. Anybody want to talk about it more than we already have?
So you're gonna present this tonight, correct?
I will.
So you'll be able to, you know, give these reasons that we're discussing at least.
Right, that's
You know,
exactly.
could be the best time to, you know, bid it. You know, we'll have to pay by the hour to have them come present it, and this is the best what we were asked to do.
Presenting at this town meeting is included in the cost of what we're paying them. There's no extra cost involved.
And if we don't get, if it's not on this town meeting warrant, we lose that.
Correct.
Or they have to come up with somebody to get it back.
We know
in
that's
August.
not gonna happen.
so, if town meeting, you know how town meetings go and all of a sudden it's too late and people start bailing, they don't have a quorum. Now, these guys, they may show up on the original town meeting, and then they extend it. I don't know how our contract is written with them.
Well, I don't think there was a
So-
date on town meeting, because I don't think we even knew when it was gonna be when we signed the
Right.
contract.
There's no date on the
It's
town meeting.
spring
so
town meeting.
Let's say
So if they gotta come twice,
if they're gonna come twice, that's not a problem. According
Because
to the contract.
the meeting will not end until it ends. So we may have to, if you listen carefully at the end of the town meeting, somebody will say motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn means we're putting it on hold and we're gonna start it up again. Motion to dissolve means we're done. So if we get to that point where it has to continue to another day, then there'll be a motion made and somebody will figure out, okay, we're gonna do it in a week or 10 days or whatever. So the meeting hasn't finished yet. So technically, if they say we're done after the meeting's over, then when the meeting's done, they're
could
done.
be 2 weeks later.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so, yeah, I agree, we should just put the full 1965 and get the selectmen to put it on a warrant, even if we have to extend it another day. And this way, because we got these guys, let them explain to the town. They made a lot of money on this.
Well, do
I'd
you
like
know
to see
where
them
it is on the
explain why
warrant?
this one costs
Last.
so much.
Does it have to be last?
It currently is, and it doesn't have to be, but I mean, there's an interesting point that David brought up. If people get to the point where, you know what, if I leave, then we can't vote on this tonight, right? Well, we need
Well,
somebody to
somebody calls the quorum.
call the quorum.
Yeah.
Now,
So the thought was to keep it to the end so that people would stay, because once this article gets dealt with, there'll be a lot of people who are gonna leave.
Is there a, like unwritten law or town idea that at 10 o'clock we shut it down anyways?
No,
So-
no. It just depends on how things are going, and the town meeting is up to the moderator. He decides when to start and when to stop. And if he gets enough grief and aggravation from people, then he may think, okay, let's think about, adjourning for now and rescheduling and finishing.
now, there is an option to take an article out of order. So you could bring this up, say, early on in a meeting. Now, that is a huge risk, let me explain. Because I'll just use, there's 7 of us. We both take an article out of order. And it passes. However, or it fails, depending on whatever the case. Let's say it passes. And getting you to the end of the meeting, and I don't like that it passed. I can go up to the microphone and say, I voted on the prevailing side, I would like to reconsider article such and such. And so all the people that were in favor of the article, a majority of them, or skedaddled. But the people that were against it stayed. It's a legal procedure. As long as I voted on the prevailing side, I make a motion to reconsider article, whatever it is. The people say, yes, we want to reconsider it. Okay, if it's reconsidered, it fails. Okay, so there's a huge risk of taking some articles out of order for that very reason.
I remember being at town meetings where
It-
that article came up again for whatever
Yeah.
reason.
Well,
Yeah, it was,
You've seen it.
But this is just to put it to a ballot vote regardless.
Right, I mean, no
It's
matter
still
how
gonna
it's
go to-
voted on at town meeting,
right.
It's either gonna, if
pass
it
or
passes,
fail, it
it's gotta
still
go
has
to
to go
ballot.
to an
Still
out.
gonna go to the ballot,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, honestly, between a regular override and another 20 million, you got a snowball's chance of this
Yeah.
passing. But
15, 18, or 20, it's, yeah.
But let's get it on this spring town meeting, so we can have these guys that we paid come and explain everything and why. And then at least, even if it all fails, at least people are educated for, I guess, if you guys want us to continue beating this up and see where we get, or hiring new architects or whatever in the future, but
Yeah, it'll be the future.
I-
If
I-
it were gonna
yeah.
happen, it'll be the future,
Well, that's-
just because
that's
of the
exactly-
financial
You know,
state of affairs
yeah.
right now.
But, you know, I agree. We owe it to the, it's
Our-
owed to the town.
our task was to present it to be on town meeting. Now, whether they don't wanna put it on there, we've done our job.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that it would make sense, we can look at what the order of the warrant is. I would prefer to do it, if it makes sense, to move it to a different position. I mean, that's the select board's prerogative as to how the articles are put onto the warrant. And, you know, taking something out of order, that also is the moderator's prerogative. I got asked to do that one time and I flat out told them no, because this got put together in this order for a reason. And I'm not going to allow you to change that, because then everybody's gonna wanna do it, and then all hell breaks loose. So,
That's a good point. But anyways, we have a motion. Any further discussions?
I think there's anything to discuss.
Nope.
Further comments? Okay.
That's gonna
We have a
help us.
motion and a second to recommend the 23,000 square foot building at 19.65 million. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, that's all we can do today, I think.
Yep,
Depending, I would think we're still gonna have the open house.
no, not if it doesn't go to town
Yeah,
meeting.
it
vote.
depends on what they say, what
That's right. depending
what
if
the select board decides on
put it
tonight.
On a warrant or not.
So we gotta go over 3 hurdles.
Yeah,
So, right, so
that meeting is 6 o'clock,
right next door.
yeah, right there.
But,
And,
but it is a very valid point. Obviously, if they delay it to the SSTM, then we have to reconsider the open house.
We have to reconsider money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if it's bumped completely, obviously, but we need to let those that are involved, the DPW and the volunteers that are trying to organize this, they need to be informed.
Yeah.
Scott is aware, because they called me about that, I think yesterday, about, you know, with the finance committee and the cabinet, everything was on Monday night. He said, doesn't look good to put it on a warrant. I said, well, let's see what the select board decides tonight. If they put on a warrant, you go forward with the open house. If they decide to delay it for any reason, no sense in having the open house.
Right, absolutely.
He said, okay.
I don't think this is the right design to downscale. I think there is probably a $10, $12 million option down the road, and whether orientation and stuff, I think there's a better plot play, and I think there's options. I just don't think they wanted to work with, they just cut off
Yeah, I,
the least expensive options. And I get, building a bigger house is usually, a little bit more than
so he really didn't, what we
no.
talked about the last meeting, what you talked to him, before the last meeting, he didn't listen to anything. He just
Yeah.
did what he wanted to do.
Well, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, we have the right to retain this architect and OPM, but we don't have to.
Yeah.
When the time comes, if all this passes, we could go out for bid again with somebody else, or we could reconsider an architect and/or the OPM.
The Weston Sampson was, I know they had 2 floors because he didn't have Cole's property, but the garage layout, was it close to the same as what this was, or no?
No. I don't know if I have it.
Well, it was different because it was 2 floors and it was spun
It was
differently
way
because you
more
didn't have
compact. It
the
was more-
property to
there-
go
there was
lengthwise.
more of an L shape, if you would. No, it was more
More
of a
square.
More of a rectangular, more of a square building, because the office, and I believe the office was on,
And it was basically
the office was on the second floor.
second floor.
And the first floor was where all of the lockers and restrooms were.
And it was
You had an
also set at
elevator.
the edge of the original property line, kind of perpendicular to the road more
Cost of the
than.
elevator, maintaining an elevator.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I'm not
like a
gonna wanna go with
building.
by no means say we should go with a
No, I was just
two-story.
looking
But-
more for the garage.
Yeah.
you know,
What it looked like on their
But
plot.
the,
you know.
I didn't bring up, I do have those drawings at home from Old Weston and Sampson. I don't know if I have them on a computer.
Well,
Anyways.
it's beside the point. It was just, you know, maybe future down the road, if this committee stays intact or something, we gotta look at different things.
Well, yeah, and just listening to what you guys were just saying, if this falls on its face and it gets decided in the future that we carry on and we're all here and want to keep doing this, we have enough information. We can come up with a design of what we want this thing to look like, right? We can, we want this garage bay, we want this garage bay, we want this storage, da-da-da. The fine details, no, we can't do, but we can at least come up with something.
We could come up with a footprint.
Yeah.
We have
That's-
a footprint right here.
That's what,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what, when I built my house, I did that. My wife and I said, we want this, 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 this. Here, Tim Nyhart, draw me a house. And these are what we want, this is what we want. And I did it, you know, I had Tim do it, I asked the architect to do it, and he wanted to do something totally different,
Oh, yeah,
right? I said, Tim, do this, and he did what I wanted.
yeah.
Between his AutoCAD and my AutoCAD, we can come up with a decent footprint. Granted, that's as far as we can go, but at least we now have what we and DPW want and need. And then you hire the architect, you say, okay, we want something like this. And they come up with some harebrained design. No.
Well, if heated storage is so inexpensive and we need to knock down the old building, knock it down. Right, if they're saying it's fairly inexpensive,
Well, it's not.
well,
No.
you know,
The old
but
building-
if they're saying it, you know,
Well, if you knock down the old building, you're adding on to the new one even more.
well, for
No,
sure,
right,
but if
for
they're
that
saying
doubling
it's,
it.
but if they're saying it's only $150 a square foot for heated.
$170.
$170 a square foot, give me 2, please.
Well,
We all know
When
there's
we
a
asked
threat
for
to the party. You know.
when they asked
You
for
don't
this-
bring the guy on site without having to hit that minimum.
Oh, yeah,
So-
no, I get
When they
it.
asked for the design, granted, we're taking off storage. It's
Yeah.
not $750
Oh,
a
for
square
sure,
foot.
yeah.
But I figured it'd be about $350.
Yeah.
And it's half of that. It is no, I mean, you can't even build a house for $170 a square
No,
foot.
no. But it shouldn't have gone up that much, the downside.
So anyway, we beat this up enough.
Yeah.
You're gonna save all electronic copies, because, I mean, hopefully, I don't know if we'll meet again or not, you know, depending upon.
By law, I have to.
Yeah, I'm just saying, keep them all together so that, and share it with somebody, and so that there's some level of redundancy here.
Everything that I showed today, you all have, you were all emailed today.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to wrangle them all up, but anyway, I'm not sure if we'll meet again, but if we don't, I appreciate, you know, the time that I've been able to share with you guys. If anybody wants to join me in the finance committee meeting and Randy in the select board meeting at 6 o'clock.
Please, yeah, please do. I think it
I
would
may
be-
stay tuned, but I don't think I'll be here.
yeah.
If any, if the, it was posted as a joint meeting with the board of selectmen, so anybody with the DPW, we're not in any violation because I did post it. So we're good with that. Anyways, thank you, everybody. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.